In this video, you're gonna learn a lot of words about the Italian gelato
and how to order it in Italy. Ciao and welcome to this new episode of Leave a Learn Italian Vocabulary. Today's video was a request from a viewer of the channel.
The channel actually is LIS, Learn Italian Songs, Learn Italian with Songs, but sometimes you get one of these classes about Italian vocabulary and not about songs.
And Gozia, I hope I'm pronouncing the name correct, from Poland asks, I will be in Italy in June, so I need to learn Italian quickly. How to ask for ice cream in Italian, not on the knobs. I've read that the knobs are for tourists and they're much smaller than the ice cream put on for Italians. Now, I'm not really sure what Gozia means when referring to the knobs, but let me tell you before we continue with the lesson that tourists 99% of the time receive the same treatment as Italians in Italian ice cream parlors, which by the way are called gelaterie. Now, of course, there are some caveats, and there are some places, some ice cream shops where you could get charged quite a high price. Now, I've eaten ice cream all over Italy, from north to south, from east to west, and more or less everywhere in Italy ice cream costs the same. Of course, there are some fluctuations in prices. Sometimes in the south prices for food in general are lower, but really there is not a very big difference in price in various areas of Italy,
or not a very big difference if you happen to be recognized as a tourist.
Now, what you have to be aware of, and I wanted to tell you about something that happened to me the first time I went to Florence. I wanted an ice cream and I went to a gelateria, asked for a small ice cream, and the price I had to pay was really high, like 3 times as much as I would have paid at home, so to say. With my ice cream cone in my hand, I go out of the gelateria and I just turn like a 90-degree angle, and there she was, the Cattedrale di Santa Maria in Fiore. Now that is the reason why that ice cream was so expensive. And a general rule is, if you don't want to spend a lot on ice cream or on a coffee for that matter, please avoid the specific touristic spots. Like if you're in Venice and you want to have a coffee in Piazza San Marco, like the main square where the main church is, expect to pay a lot just because you're there, not because you're a tourist. Even Venetians would pay a lot for that. And the same applies for Rome, Milan, or any other city. If you are very close to a touristic attraction, expect to pay a lot for the view that you get where you're eating or drinking that particular food or drink. Having said that, let me tell you how to order ice cream in Italy. Now, first of all, the place where you buy ice cream in Italy is called a gelateria. So an ice cream parlor is a gelateria. Gelateria. The person who gives you the ice cream is called a gelataio if he's male, or gelataia if she's female. So gelataio, gelataia. Gelataio, male, gelataia, female. And most of the times you enter a gelateria, and I will show you some images of short videos that I've taken in local gelateria of my area. You go there and there's a counter with some glass or plexiglass protection, and beneath the plexiglass you can actually see the big metal trays in which the ice cream is kept, with usually a label, like a sign, with the name of the corresponding ice cream flavor. So you go into the gelateria and you ask the gelataio or gelataia for your ice cream. Now, the first thing you have to specify is if you want it with a cone. In Italian, cono, a cone, cono, cono, or in a paper cup or cardboard cup. And a cup in Italian is called a coppetta. 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 And coppetta is the small version of coppa. Coppa, just like in the World Cup, Coppa del Mondo. A coppa is a large container for some kind of liquid, and when you're talking about ice cream, it's not that large, it's usually smaller, so coppetta, etta in the end, the suffix etta for female singular means smaller. Of course, we have many suffixes for indicating small something, and they change depending on the word, and there's no set rules. So you go into the gelateria, you ask for a cono or coppetta, and then you specify the size. Now, sizes can be expressed either with the easier small, medium, or big, which is small is piccolo for the cone, or piccola for the cup. A cone is masculine, so piccolo. Coppetta is feminine, so piccola. Then you have medium, and a medium cone is medio, masculine. A medium coppetta is media, so medio for the cone, media for the cup. And then you have big, which is grande, and grande is both for masculine and for feminine, so either cono grande or coppetta grande. But more frequently you will have to specify how many scoops of ice cream you want. And a scoop of ice cream in Italian, regardless of the tool that the gelataio or gelataia use to put the ice cream on your cone, on your coppetta, scoops are called palline. And palline is the small version of palle. A palla is a ball, like the one that you use for playing football or basketball or wherever, palla. But when you're talking about ice cream, you talk about pallina, a small ball. So usually you just say a number, which usually is 1, 2, or 3, and then you say the word pallina if it's just one, or palline if it's more than one. For example, if I want 1 scoop of ice cream, I will say una pallina, per favore. 1 scoop, please. Una pallina, per favore. Una pallina, per favore. If you want 2 scoops, 2 palline, per favore. 2 palline, per favore. 2 palline, per favore. Now I think that 2 scoops is the most requested size for ice cream. And then of course you can have 3 palline, 4 palline, even 5 palline. But believe me, and this is also to answer to Gosia, 2 palline is already a lot of ice cream to put on a cone, because the people behind the counter will never just scoop like a perfectly spherical bowl. They will grab a lot of ice cream, and the top of the scoop will have the shape of a half a sphere, and then there will be a lot of ice cream all around and all underneath it. So when you have 2 scoops, 2 palline, it's already a reasonable quantity of ice cream. Now, when I teach English, I always have to remind my students that when you're talking about ice cream in English, you have to say flavor, because in Italian we call it the taste. And the third thing that you will have to specify when you're ordering ice cream, after having said if you want cono or coppetta, and if you want una, 2 o 3 palline, or the size of it, you will have to specify the flavor, which in Italian is il gusto. Gusto if it's just one flavor. If it's 2 or more flavors, gusti. So the gelataio or gelataia will ask you che gusto, what flavor, and you will say the name of the desired flavors. There's a particular gelateria in which I go, and they have a funny sign in English that says 1 bowl, 1 taste. Now what they did is they translated literally from the Italian 1 bowl, una pallina, 1 taste, un gusto, whereas they meant 1 scoop, una pallina, 1 flavor, un gusto. And you can see it here. Now let's talk about flavors, and then we will talk about prices. Flavors are divided into main categories. One is creme, which literally means creams, and the other is frutta, which means fruit. Now, when we're talking about creme, we're meaning chocolate, vanilla, Nutella, or things like that. And you will find dozens of different flavors depending in what gelateria you are. But there are some staples of the ice cream flavors that you will find almost anywhere. And these are, of course, chocolate. In Italian, cioccolato. 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 Then we have this other flavor called crema. Crema is not really cream like in English, cream like the one you put in your coffee or that you use to make whipped cream is called panna, and we'll talk about that later. Crema is more of a kind of a custard used in different kinds of cakes and baking products, and crema is usually of a yellow color, and it's called crema. Crema. Sometimes it's also called vanilla, and yes, you guessed it, this is vanilla. 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 So maybe the most common pair of flavors when you're talking about creme is cioccolato e vaniglia. But then you could also have fior di latte, which is another kind of crema or vaniglia, only a bit whiter in color. Fior di latte. And fior di latte literally means flower of milk or milk flour. Fior di latte. And beware that fior di latte is also the name for a kind of mozzarella cheese, but it does not mean that your ice cream will taste like mozzarella. It's a kind of a cream. Then you have very typical Italian flavor, which is bacio. Yes, bacio. Bacio, like the word kiss, when you're talking about ice cream, does not mean a kiss. Bacio is your regular chocolate with hazelnuts. So it has hazelnuts in the preparation, and it also has pieces or even whole hazelnuts in the ice cream scoop when they scoop it for you. And then you have another flavor which is called stracciatella. And stracciatella, yes, let me repeat it once more. Stracciatella is a kind of a cream with small pieces of chocolate inside. They're like splinters of chocolate inside. And stracciatella can also be the name for another kind of mozzarella cheese, but don't be confused if you're in a gelateria. Stracciatella and fior di latte are gonna taste sweet, and they're gonna be very good ice cream flavors. Now on to the fruit department, and this is easier. I will just top on the two most common fruit flavor for ice cream, and they are fragola, which is strawberry, fragola for strawberry, and then you have limone for lemon, limone. And then you will find a lot of other fruit flavors. But if you know the names of fruit in Italian, then it's gonna be easy, because that is gonna be the name of the flavor. We can also have yogurt, but of course yogurt in Italian is just pronounced yogurt. And then you can have yogurt with something else inside it, like yogurt ai frutti di bosco, which means yogurt with forest fruit flavor, or yogurt alla pesca, yogurt with peach. This is by no way a complete list of all the flavors and all the ice cream related things that you can have. Before we get to the prices, let me just say that you can also ask for whipped cream on top, and when you ask for your ice cream with whipped cream, that whipped cream on top is called panna. There are some gelateria in which they will put your whipped cream in the cone. I ate one in Apulia, for example, and let me mention this because I ate this ice cream with the whipped cream in the cone in the city which gave birth to the author of probably the most famous Italian song in the world, who is Domenico Modugno, and that city or small town actually is called Polignano a Mare, and there you have a couple of ice cream parlors. One is called Il Mago del Gelo, which means the magician of the frost, and then you have another one who maybe claims to be better, and he is called Il Super Mago del Gelo, the super magician of the frost. And I don't remember where I bought this ice cream or these ice creams, because I bought many of them with the whipped cream inside the cone. And anyway, you will call that whipped cream always panna. So you can have your panna in the cone or you can have your panna on top. Mind you that the panna in the cone is something that I've eaten or that I've seen only in the south of Italy, but this by no way means that somewhere in the north or in the center of Italy you will find a gelateria that gives you the panna in the cone. Then you also have toppings like chocolate sauce, they call it salsa al cioccolato, or another very common sauce that you can put on top of your whipped cream is amarena. And amarena can also be an ice cream flavor, and amarena is a particular kind of cherry. Amarena. Now everything I said is only referred to those ice cream parlors, to those gelateria in which you go and you order standing up, like on the go. Usually those gelateria will also have some tables or some chairs or some stools on which you can eat your ice cream inside or maybe on the outside. But then you have another section, so to say, of gelateria where you can have the more elaborate or complicated cups or ice creams that come in bigger cups or even on plates, and then you can have your banana split or your spaghetti ice cream. I won't get into that. If you want to know more about ice cream and special kinds of ice cream, just ask me and will try to make a video on those. But let's talk about prices. Now, more or less everywhere around Italy, una pallina of ice cream will be around 1.50 euros to 2 euros. And I will show some price lists of gelateria in which I went recently. You will see that those are the prices. Sometimes, just like in the sign that says one bowl, one taste, you will pay more if you eat your ice cream sitting at the table. And that gelateria with one bowl, one taste was out on one of the main squares in Trieste, which is the closest city to where I live, and it's like the main square, so you will get some overprice for eating it on the table, or also you are paying for the table service. That's why prices if you eat at the table will be higher. But anyway, usually it's around €1.50 to €2 for one scoop of ice cream. And then, of course, you have fancy ice creams in fancy places, like the one that I will be showing here or here. The ice cream that you're seeing, that is my daughter, only that I put some sunglasses on her face. That is an ice cream that we had in Venice. It has the shape of a flower, of a rose if we want, and of course, being that kind of an ice cream and being that it's Venice, which is like Disneyland, you will pay more for that ice cream. I think we paid that ice cream €3.50. It's not that much, but still it's more than your regular one scoop ice cream. But usually, once again, unless you go right in front of the touristic attraction, ice creams will cost around €1.50 to €2 for a scoop, and 2 scoops are quite an ice cream. Now that's it for today's video. I will leave you with some more snippets of videos that I shoot at local gelateria. You will hear some dialogues, and 90% of the dialogues will be in Italian, but sometimes when I speak to my children I speak in my local dialect, which is a Venetian kind of dialect. If you want to know more about ice cream, if you want to know anything in particular, just write in the comments and I will try to make a video about your requests. This is it for today's lesson of Leave or Learn Italian Vocabulary, and I'll see you on the next Ciao!
Però non voglio cono.
Non cono?
No.
Quindi coppetta? Piccola?
Sì.
Ok. Una piccola cioccolato.
Vuoi il biscottino?
No,
No, grazie.
Eccolo. Prendi. Arrivi? Ciao.
Prego,
Sì.
per te.
Cremino con.
Il cono per te.
Un cono cremino.